what your heart rings true, allowing hope to guide you through. Step into the mystery of your soul. That's where signs and wonders I bestow. Hard to see the power of one, the Father, Spirit, and the Son. When there is no end and the bottom's deep, I'm calling. When the path is long and the road is steep, I'm calling, calling. When there seems to be no other way, I'm calling, 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 yeah. Going to the edge of what you know. That's where simple faith begins to grow.
orientation with just us before that. Just saying. I was just testing the mic. We don't have to do anything. But we could. If I could get your guys' attention in the front here. Thank you. Artists, you can't, they're like cats. Three more minutes. Start talking, Andrea, okay? I'll just start talking. This this has been a lot of fun setting this up, and I think it's already a success. Not to pat myself on the back, but it looks pretty good. I think we can do an art show. We are capable. We are. Okay, so during the day, this is the deal. If we get three people, I'm okay. I'm okay. What we'll do is we'll be taking turns presenting from up here, and we'll need the mic in order to allow Alex to record it because he's recording this. And I wonder would you guys prefer hand holding or having it on hand? Hand? Good. Does anybody need a stand? So I can get rid of this? Okay, that's good. It'll look better without it, right? I just thought in case. Here's my painting. That will be on the camera. The camera's up over there and it's hitting me square on. You don't have to look at the camera, you can look at the people. I think it's more natural that way, right? But how long are we being up here? 5 to 7 minutes. That's impossible to think that. So if it's 3 minutes and you're done, you're done. If you're 10 minutes, but 5 to 7. We could. If you want a chair, that would work. Do I look any better? I got a thumbs up in the booth. That's good. This one's a little bit annoying. No? There. Now it's good. Sample painting? Nobody will be able to see any of mine because they're so small. That's the real deal there, Mr. Alex. Nobody online is going to be able to see that. I wonder if I should send you JPEGs. Anyways, we got all day or all morning to think of that. We are. This is the time to do it. That's why. No, that's the highest it goes. You don't even try because this here breaks. That's why I brought this stand here. This is a picture. Yeah, that's one of my walks where I'm going, why am I walking today? Why do you have me coming to take a picture, God? And I'm walking and walking, all of a sudden I ran right into this leaf that was just looking at me. And I just stood there and I spent at least a half hour taking a picture of it. And that's what I came out with. I don't know. I haven't made my mind up yet. I think the one with the rocks. It may change. I don't know. Get a visual. Yeah, it'll be the one with the rock, the one on the podium. You guys should come up here and practice not falling off the back like that. Your husband's not here. It's good. Yeah. We used to have a leader in this church that was health and safety. This isn't Hecla. And an angel came and pointed that to me. And you have to look up really close because it's a rock that broke in half and this tree started growing out. And it's the only one that still has leaves. Well, it's not. All these have leaves on it, but it's healthy. It's it was right there within 6 feet from me. And I was busy over here taking a picture because I knew I had to be here. And God sent an angel to come say, that one. And I actually turned around and talked to the angel, who was just some old lady that showed up. But she disappeared. I don't know where she went. And I never got a picture of her, and I should have. But so yeah, can you even see it? This is really good because it makes you want to come over there and see it close and personal. Yeah. So anyways, that's what we'll be doing today. And what will happen then is we'll be able to clip these little things of us speaking out. And then Paige, you can use them for whatever. Right? So for future, like we've already got talks from the last one we did, which was a huge blessing because they used most of those, the videoing that we did was used at Cliff's funeral. That it was worth it if it was just for that, you know? So who knows what this will turn into. So now the only thing I've got to say is artists, we got chairs there for people and you've turned them into storage for all your stuff. And now the people have no place to sit and talk. So, yeah. Is there anything else we need to discuss?
struggle, my lonesome, wretched heart. You know the things I've done. It must be love. Only love would take me back again when I've been caught with blood on both my hands. There's no good reason that I could understand. It must be love. God knows it must be love. You know I'm reaching. You know I try so hard to fix all the things I've done. Every mistake, every disaster. When I run away, love's running faster. Ooh. Only love would take me back again when I've been caught with blood on both my hands. There's no good reason that I could understand. It must be love. God knows it must be love. God knows it must be love. Every mistake, every disaster. When I run away, love's running faster. Every mistake, every disaster. When I run away, love's running faster. Every mistake, every disaster. When I run away, love's running faster. Only love would take me back again when I've been caught with blood on both my hands. There's no good reason where simple faith begins to grow. Believing what your heart rings true, allowing hope to guide you through. Step into the mystery of your soul. That's where signs and wonders I bestow. Harnessing the power of one, the Father, Spirit, and the Son. When there is no end and the bottom's deep, I'm calling. When the path is long and the road is steep, I'm calling, calling. When there seems to be no other way, I'm calling, 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 yeah. Going to the edge of what you know. That's where simple faith begins to grow.
Hello, everybody. We're practicing. This is just like school. I put my hand up. Right? Students? Students? Okay. I think this is working out to be a really good rehearsal. There's no stress. We don't have tons of people to impress who have huge expectations. I'm loving it. This is our learning time. So in part of our learning time, I thought perhaps we should practice coming up here and doing what we were going to do. My thought was before we were going to do one person, 20-minute break, and then another person, but maybe we'll just go one after the other? Because I think, hey? A little more rapid fire, and because everybody's already had a chance to mix and mingle and do all that. So I don't know, do I need to give a background on how Mud in Your Eye Creatives came to be? Okay, apparently I do. For the recording. Oh yeah, for the rehearsal. Welcome everyone to the first public showing of Mud in Your Eye Creatives, because we were previously known as Kaleidoscope Creatives. And our first show was actually at the Phoenix Garden Party at Cliff and Wilma Dirkson's in 2020? 2021? Something like that. Anyway, so this has been a long time coming, and Mud in Your Eye Creatives came about after a conversation over coffee with Wilma, where I said I really want to get together with other artists throughout the city. What am I doing? Better? I got to eat it. I got to do this. Alex wants me to have an orange. It's all good. Okay. Anyway, so I had coffee with Wilma, and I said, I really want to get together with other prophetic artists throughout the city because I want to know what God's speaking to them. And that was in 2019. And so I called people that I knew that had presented with Cliff and Wilma in the past, and we all got together. And what came out of that was an excitement to be with like-minded people, to kind of find your tribe, so to speak, and also a real deep need for encouragement and community and a place to create in a safe environment with other creatives, so you kind of understand each other. And so that was the beginning of us getting together and discovering that God was speaking a lot of the same things. We were facing similar struggles. And so it was a very much deep-to-deep conversations. And we've been able to continue meeting throughout the pandemic, and now things have opened up again, and we've grown in our relationships, we've grown in our talents and our giftings and abilities. And so it was really nice to be able to come here and have 3 days of hanging by a thread, because that's very much what we felt like we were doing throughout the pandemic. We'd plan a show or something, and then it would get canceled, or there'd be lockdown or whatever. And so we're reclaiming that time. And the name Mud in Your Eyes came out of the story in John 9 where Jesus healed the blind man by making spitting into the dirt and creating mud. And I love that story because when I read it, the first few times I read it, I was thinking of myself, if I'm spitting, it's just like nothing. But if you're going to make mud, that's serious business. You got to be there a while, like to just get enough saliva worked up to make it. So he invested time into restoring the man's healing by using what, like, as a blind beggar, he would have been spat upon a lot. And God used that in a redemptive way. You know, there's no more shame. He used spit. The spit of Jesus is redemptive. And you put it in mud, and he put it on his eyes and told the guy, okay, now go wash that off, which I'm sure he was happy to do. And again, you can't really do that by yourself. Even if he was blind, knowing where things were, I'm certain he would need some help to get to the water, and and then to come off, and then you can see. And now your whole life has changed because you can't be a sighted, healthy, intact beggar. He's got to find new work. And he didn't even know who Jesus really was. He'd heard the name. And so that kind of exemplified, I think it encapsulated what we were about. We don't always see clearly. We would see a bit. We don't see our own worth and our own value, but we're reflected in one another, and we encourage one another so that we help one another to get the mud off our eyes and see. And when other people look at the paintings and the photography and hear the writings and things that are going on through the creative process, it's important to stop and just slow down for a bit and let your eyes and your heart and everything get opened up. And I know that some of our work has been sent out to help other people see. So it's got a really good ripple effect. And Mud in Your Eyes is shouted in bars as a cheers to drinks. So it's not confined inside the church to people who are familiar with the name of Jesus. They may have heard the name Jesus, and maybe not in a complimentary way, but they've heard the name, and that's what happens with our artwork. We can talk about Jesus because we're Mud in Your Eye creatives, and we're welcome everywhere. We have the freedom to go wherever we want. So I want to thank everybody who's come out and those who are still on their way. And one of the things that we really wanted to do is give each one of the founding members an opportunity to talk about at least one piece of their art, their process, what goes on behind the scenes, how they connect with God, or just maybe what the painting is about. So I think we'll switch it up and I'll let someone else go first. Do we want a volunteer or a voluntold? Okay, a voluntold it is. All right, I will bring Paige. Thank you. Paige is going to bring up one of her pieces. Hooray, hooray. Glenn's going to grab a coffee quick because the sound travels. Or he might sit there, we don't know. Keep the comments coming. And we're only giving you a taste. You want to come down and see everything up close. It's very different. All right. This is, ladies and gentlemen, Paige Bueller.
Yay. Hi, hello. Welcome to our art show. I'm Paige Bueller, and I'm pleased to present one of my latest pieces. We were talking a lot about COVID, and some of that is still lingering, at least with me. And just what we've learned individually and as a church together, what we've learned through that process, and some of it is grief. Some of that was feelings of separation, loneliness. And so I've learned to paint through, well, I can't help it, just a lot of emotion comes out. So I find that a lot of my paintings show just emotion more, and I'm not so much focused on technique or what it is in the picture, but how it makes you feel, what it says to you inside, and for each of us that could be different. But for me, with this one, with the pink on the side, not near the rest of the flowers, was about separation, loneliness, awkwardness, a lot of awkwardness that happened in the last couple of years. And it just reminds me, helps me to be appreciative of, being over that, and we can be connected. So it's a lot of experimentation, a lot of, I don't know what we're doing, but it's fun, and I love to use lots of color, and I'm really thankful for the group because there's a lot of people with more experience than me, and we could get feedback from each other quite a bit. And I found that the more I was open to the learning, the path of learning through this process, and not so much trying to be a professional artist, that I learn a lot more through the group. And and that we can just encourage each other through the process, and that we all know we're at different levels, different stages. We're dealing with different things emotionally, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that, what we're all going through, and honor each other through that. So I'm very thankful for the group. I guess that's it. I'd like to hand it over to the next person, I guess. Anyone else up next? I get to choose. Well, I'm going to say Iris. Please come forward with your piece. Thank you.
Stand where Glenn is? That'd be better. Okay,
What's that?
I'll stand where you are because then.
Then you won't be on camera.
Oh, I see. See, there's a method.
I can get you a chair.
I don't know. It's up to him, I guess. He's got everything set. No?
He just has to adapt.
Oh, he has to adapt.
He'll adapt. He's amazing.
Green is go. Hi, everybody. My name is, okay. My name is Iris Kupchak, and I've been painting ever since I was a little girl, something that is just really near and dear to my heart. And at some point in time, I had an encounter with God in my life, and it's been different ever since, walking with the Lord. And so this painting here, I've always been very fascinated with the light as the sun is going down, and it always did something to the very core of my being at a certain time of day. I think they've got a name for it now. It's called the golden hour, you know. But at any rate, so I wanted to capture that in this painting. And so the title of this painting is called The River of Life. And so as you're coming down the river, God's light is there. It's on you, but it's got a little bit of a filter in front of it, so you can't necessarily see it clearly, which is scriptural. So we shall see dimly, but then we shall see clearly, and I can't remember what scripture it is. I used to be so good at that, I could quote them, you know? Can't do that anymore. So, yeah, so once you get around the corner, you'll be able to see clearly. And so it's all about the hope and all about the relationship, because the relationship is there while you're walking, or not walking, but as you're going through this river of life. That relationship is there, and God is always with you. He's with you in every moment, always, through the tough times, through the good times. And I think that's basically everything. And I took 3 minutes. Oh, Andrea.
Welcome, Andrea.
Hi. I'm going to sit. Yeah. Oh, that was accidental. Serendipitous. I'm Andrea, and I'm an art teacher, and that is the way that God has coaxed me out, forced me, drop-kicked me into doing art, because I was always a scaredy cat, not wanting to take any risks, because I'm such a, or was, I was such a perfectionist that there was no hope of ever getting it to any standard that I would love, and so I just never did anything. And then one day I said, God, if you are serious about the one talent person, having to face you and give an account, and if that you're serious about me using my one talent, then you're going to have to make it a priority. And then I got launched into this art teacher career that I had no idea what I was doing. And I was forced to experiment because I had to teach it the next day. And so I got to, and this was God's way of showing me what I could do and what He had put inside me, which is a door that I was afraid to open. And so I've had the joy of discovering that I'm not just a good copier, I can actually be creative. There's actually something creative in me. And I brought this picture up because this is one of the ones that demonstrates this. I'm realizing as I do art who I am, the unique creativity that God has given me. And I started off doing, emulating reality and only fixating on this is how it is, therefore this is how I must paint it. And now I'm realizing that God has put a little bit of unique creativity in each of us, and in all of us, that we see things just a little bit differently than the next person, and we get a sense of satisfaction from creating something just a little bit differently than the next person, and that is what makes us unique. And so this picture, I had a reference photo of waves, and I love ocean waves. There's just something about them. Psalm 94 verse 3 says that mightier than the great waters, mightier than the breakers of the sea, the Lord on high is mighty. And those big surf waves, they just fascinate me. So I started painting this, and then I got bored because all I was doing was copying what was on my reference photo. And so I started experimenting with this sense that I just did slightly different colors from what the picture dictated, slightly different, and I did a square little brush stroke. And then I went inside the little square brush stroke with a smaller, different color brush stroke, and then inside that sometimes. So some of them have 3 different colors in them, concentric squares, and I loved it. And it gave me such a sense of, this is something that I love, that I can create a picture with that's different from anybody else. And it gave me an opportunity to still stay very neat and tidy and detailed and complex, which I do love. That's what I did when I did, realism. But it's creative. And I just love how God puts that unique creativity inside each of us. And I love when I have my class do a drawing or a painting of the same reference photo when we're all just practicing. I give them all the same photo, and they all paint it totally differently. And after a while, I recognize their unique styles. It tells me about who they are. The ones that are ultra detailed and everything's got to be just perfect, and the ones that are just bold and just go for it with lots of color, and the ones that need to have their hand held because they're so afraid of making a mistake. It's just so beautiful to see each of these kids express who they are in their art. And then unlocking some doors and saying, why don't you try this? I give you permission to make a mess. And then they start to create. Right now, I have a student who is newly in Canada from Nigeria. I had never done art before. And another student from India who also has not done art before. And they're just discovering what they can do. And it's just such a beautiful discovery of this part of their personality that they've never encountered before. So it's a real joy. And that's me. Who's next? Shannon? Glenn?
Can you see it? Hi, everybody online. There's a lot of people. Shocking. The question is, why didn't you come here? From that person right there. Yeah. Hey, this is going to be fun because we get to do this multiple times, which means we can do different paintings. So I picked this painting. And this is a painting that I took 2 weeks ago, I think, in Hecla Island. Alana and I love going to Hecla Island just because it's Manitoba. It is, we learned this in the pandemic that, you know what, we could travel or we could just find out about Manitoba, and we've been enjoying that a lot. Let me just jump here. I'm going to use up some of your minutes here and go all the way to 5 minutes maybe. My verse for my life has been Colossians 3:28, and in the Passion Translation, it changes it a little bit, which I even like better. It says, "Put your heart and soul into every activity you do, as though you were doing it for the Lord himself and not merely for others." And that's why I do stuff like this. I just love, like I'm doing it for God. And I've learned that with my photography, the same thing. I now walk with my camera and God and say, okay, that'd be a nice picture. Should I take that picture? I actually stop and think. I don't just take. And there's times when God will give me a picture that I know I have to go get, so I actually have to make a sacrifice and go to get it. And this whole thing about working hard, I'm a big believer in that. I almost take offense when people say don't work too hard because it's not scriptural. To me, I like working hard. I actually rest. That's my rest. Really, that's my rest. Now, this photo here is fascinating because I knew I had to go out. I was in Hecla Island to rest because I've been working pretty hard. Actually, the past 3 years have been very, very hard for everybody. At a time when you're told to sit and you're not allowed to work, you have to work the hardest. And it took a lot of work to get through the past 3 years. A lot of long, long hours to do that for me. And this was a really good time of rest. We anticipated it, Alana and I. I got there and found out I had to wake up at 5:30 in the morning and go for a walk with a flashlight down a path that's about 1 kilometer long to the point on Hecla Island. And it was, I thought, well, hey, if it's foggy, that would be wonderful. And I woke up and it was foggy. And I got to the point and there was no picture really to take a picture of. It was a wasted walk. And so I meandered back and then I stopped and I knew, okay, I've got to get a picture of this bay in the fog. And I set the camera up and everything and took the picture. And then I sat back and started to talk to God about the picture. And he says, well, did you see the eagles? No, I didn't. There's 2 eagles, 2 bald eagles, sitting there talking to each other. And I sat there for probably a half hour watching the eagles. It was wonderful. And so often now I get to take photos where God points to the picture, the photo, and I get a photo, and it actually turned out pretty good. I was pretty happy with it. But I'm going to talk more on some other pictures in a while. That's my first talk. I think I'm done, and I'm going to call Shannon up. That works good, sitting in a chair.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think we've got this figured out. Sorry, you missed that page. Next time. Oh, yeah, that's right. Our young one had to stand. Okay, so my name is Shannon, and I'm one of the founding members of Mud in Your Eye Creatives. And I chose this painting because it was an interesting process for me. This isn't what I intended to paint when I started out. So when I first went up to the canvas, I wanted to do something monochromatic. It was all soft gray tones. And what I felt I was supposed to be painting was one perfect teardrop of God landing on the water, and it would have all the promises of the rainbow inside. And to me, it was something with God weeping with us, but with promise. There's promise in our tears, in our sorrow. In the dark times, there's still promise. And that's what I thought I was going to paint. And so that's what I thought I was going to paint. And I've learned that sometimes God just moves me to, this will be a good idea, and we'll change it. And if he would have told me something else before, maybe I wouldn't even start it, or I might be intimidated, or I'd rush ahead. Because a lot of painting and creating, like Len was talking about, you take a walk and it seems like it's a waste of time, and all of a sudden there's the shot. It's learning to slow us down and to be still and hear that voice. So I left it, came back the next week, I'm looking at it, it doesn't look like nope. I turned it upside down and didn't improve it. Someone else looking at it said, oh, it looks like a portal. And I thought, well, that's interesting, and that could be true, and maybe it's going to be a portal. And then that didn't seem quite right. It took me probably over a month to paint this thing. And then we had, our idea for the art show was going to be hanging by a thread, and I thought, well, maybe I can do that, and I'll add a thread to this thing, and I'll make one pearl. That'll be good. And then I thought 3 pearls, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and restoring our COVID years, and all that kind of good stuff. And so I added 2 more spheres, and they still weren't looking quite the way I had hoped, and they kind of faded. They weren't